Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode of The County Seat. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? That's a question that a lot of counties ask when they're trying to draw new business into their community. The businesses will bring to the community new infrastructure, it'll bring new jobs, it'll bring opportunity, it'll raise their standard of living. But to get the companies there, they have to have the employees already trained. They need to have the utilities already placed, or otherwise they can't make it work financially. So that's what our show is about today. We will start our conversation with the most important one of these elements, a trained labor force. Currently, Utah's youth migrate out of the counties that they live in when they are in the rural part of the state. So let's find out how that's changing.
It has been said that in order to live in rural Utah, you need to want to live in rural Utah. It's a different lifestyle than many of us are used to here along the Wasatch Front. For decades, the populations of rural communities have declined and grown older as their children leave home to find jobs that can sustain families of their own. Local leaders, economic development directors, colleges, high schools, and industry itself have all begun to work together to change that migratory pattern, so more of the rising generation find what they are searching for right in their own backyard.
This part of Utah is the most economically depressed part. It has the lowest per capita income of any broad region in the state. And our commitment is to raise that, to try to find a way to help businesses grow, try to help incomes rise, to bless the lives of families and businesses and everybody throughout this whole region. And that's really what started this thing.
Colleges and universities across the state have begun to change the culture of traditional education. Last year, Snow College introduced 2 career track programs, one in natural resources and another in industrial mechanics, with the goal of teaching students skills that local industries want.
Create for us a high-level, very intelligent technician who's got a wide range of skills, and that includes vocational programs and general education programs. That was kind of a revelation to us. There are lots of jobs for people who have a command of a variety of skills and are smart people. So that kind of pushed us further into this direction of recognizing what the community needs and recognizing what students can do to get a job. And these programs that we're rolling out are all a response to what businesses are telling us that they want.
100 miles away in Delta, Utah, employers are asking for similar qualifications in their own employees.
They said what we need is we need people who can do a little bit of everything. So we need them to be able to weld, we need them to do machining, we need safety. And so the program was designed around what they need, not what we thought they need, because sometimes in education we do that. We think, oh, they should have this, this, and this in order to go out in the workforce.
Today, high school students from Delta High are augmenting their core requirements with vocational training for college credit as part of career and technical education, or CTE.
We're focusing on guiding students into a career pathway. We're saying start now. Don't wait until you graduate from high school and say, oh, I think I want to do this or I would like to do that.
Jennifer, are you understanding why I want this to be my job?
Yeah. And students are saying, yeah, I really want to do this, or I really want to be a nurse, or I really want to be a doctor. If I want to do that, then I need to take these classes. So I think we're preparing our students better now than we ever have in the past, because we're having those conversations with students. What are you going to do? When you graduate, where are you going to go?
In the near future, it may be more like, how close are you staying after you graduate? This entire effort is focused on not only changing the dialogue at school, but culturally as well.
Well, we always need new blood here because we could pretty much be a ghost town if we don't keep bringing keeping our local students here to work and keep the community thriving. there's a lot of students that want to stay close to home and be close to family, and without these educational opportunities and then jobs to follow, it'd be kind of hard to keep students here.
They want to stay here, and if we can get them educated, they can stay here. And we just need to do everything we can to continue to grow our economy and continue to grow our community into a thriving community. I mean, we have opportunities now that we've never seen before with, potash and these businesses that want to come here. So we need to get people trained. No one's going to come to Millard County if they can't find the educated and trained workforce that they need. That's our job as an educational institution, is to get them the trained employees that they're going to need.
This whole process is just getting underway, but it is beginning to build some momentum as rural communities prepare a workforce for the jobs that will come to the area in the future. But if you build it, will they really come?
When they built IPP here 30 years ago, there was a big, question about, if you build this power plant here, will there be enough people to work here? Well, if you build it, they will come. There's a lot of folks, like I say, that are from Delta, and they would come home in a heartbeat if they had a good paying job, and that was the case with IPP.
For many in the communities most affected by these programs, the real excitement comes with the idea that this collaborative effort will actually raise the standard of living.
It's probably the best dialogue we've ever had at an economic development level. And so you get these bright minds from 6 counties putting their heads together and then coordinating with Snow College, who's kind of helping oversee a lot of this process, and we're getting some great solutions out of this.
These changes have the potential of completely altering the educational culture in rural Utah. When we come back, we will look at the real-world skills that students are learning from career and technical education. For the county seat, I'm Derek Dowsett.
Kanab, base camp for your southern Utah adventures. You belong in Kanab.
The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration, SITLA, manages 3.5 million acres of Utah lands with the express purpose of providing financial support to further the education of Utah's students, while promoting local industry, oil and gas, even residential development, all at the same time. Through the careful use of trust lands, the School Land Trust Program will distribute nearly $37 million to Utah schools this year. The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration, building the state's permanent school fund.
Unlimited opportunity for adventure. It's all about knowing where to look. ATV adventures, rock crawling events, art festivals, and wildlife events. The opportunities are limitless. Pick your adventure in Millard County.
How would you spend an extra day in Utah Valley? Stay one more day. Visit utahvalley.com to make reservations. Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
Welcome back to the county seat. If you're just joining us, we've been talking about how education has been looking to industry and business owners to better prepare students for the well-paying jobs that are coming to rural communities. I'd like to pick up where we left off and talk about what is being taught as part of career and technical education and how these vocational skills are helping to better prepare students for life after high school.
I don't care if it's an automotive, welding, machine shop, wood shop, skilled, and I'm stressing the skilled point because, we think, too many people think they go into vocational education and gee, they can't do it. The kids that went through my machine shop, every one of them had to know trig. How else are they going to calculate tapers and angles on the stuff they're working? That's not for dummies.
I've learned how to oxyacetylene, wire feed, arc welding, just the basics.
He's not going to know everything about everything. But a boss, you know, if the kid comes in and he can't even measure, where's he going to start? But if you got somebody that can run an EDM or has run one, or run a CNC, even though it may not be the one that's where he's working at, they know that he has the ability to do that, and they're more likely to give him a shot at it.
For students like Nick Thompson, coming to class and making parts on the lathe is an opportunity to take work from the classroom into the real world. According to Brent Larson, vocational classes provide the experiences for students to see, feel, and figure out.
If you learn how to manage your time, manage yourself by doing things that are manual and stuff like that, it's not, you have to have your brain engaged to get any place, any field.
And these programs aren't just a boys' club either.
A lot of these girls in here can, they pay attention to more details than the boys tend to do. And so it's kind of fun to see these girls shine in that aspect. And some of them are a little shy around the machines, but once they get used to them, they just dig right in.
I just passed off my vertical weld, and that is really hard. And I'm learning how to use like what type of rod to use with the same metals and the filler. And I just recently learned how to do flux core welding.
The Delta Technical Center also offers students opportunities to work with real businesses in the community.
We have about 50 businesses that we work with in Millard County, and we can place the students out in that business. It may be a career area that they're interested in.
It's not just a matter of finding a career and doing that the rest of your life. We have students that are getting skills that are helping put them through school. Every aspect of CTE can be utilized to help kids get further education and get a better education.
We have really good results. I've been teaching for 13 years now, and it's really neat to see my former students go out in the local industry and find employment and do well. But I also have students, you know, nearly worldwide that have gone on using these skills to do different things.
2 engineers that work at Ford came out of our program, and of course they both went to college afterwards, but this is the impetus that got them started. The one young man, his goal when he was in school was to build musical instruments. Now he's building cars.
Whether it's preparing for a career in Delta or in Detroit, Utah's students in rural Utah have some great opportunities to enrich both their lives and their communities as well. For the county seat, I'm Derek Dowsett.
Well, thank you for that report. We are going to be talking about Utah's most valuable export that we like to keep a little bit more of home, and talk about the chicken and egg effect of getting resources to spur development. We will be back with the county seat in just a minute.
I didn't order this. Compliments of the lady in gold. Hello, trouble.
Anything worth doing in this quiet little town? You look like the kind of man that could show a girl a good time.
You strike me as the kind of girl that likes a manicure and a massage.
How's that for a manicure?
I hate golf.
I was hoping for something a little more vigorous.
Vigorous, I can do.
And I thought you'd be riding side saddle.
What? I'm gonna regret this. How about that manicure?
Almost 45% of the oil produced in Utah, 7.8 million barrels, comes from Duchesne County. That oil feeds our state economy, provides job growth, and supports local business. Here in Duchesne County, we're working to make Utah an economic, cultural, and technological leader. Whether you're here for business or pleasure, Duchesne County will welcome you with open arms and invite you to explore all the beauty of the Uinta Mountains. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
Rediscover your sense of adventure. Welcome to San Juan County. Discover the past. A change of place. Utah's San Juan County, where life is elevated.
Welcome back to the county seat. Today something special is happening. We are talking about Utah's most valuable export for the rural communities, and we actually brought a sample of that export in. You'll see them in our studio audience. These are some of the renewable energy students from Milford High School joining us in the studio audience today. How are you guys? That's good. Glad you're here joining us. Our guest today, Mike McCandless, Economic Development Director for Emery County, Linda Gilmore, Economic Development Director for Millard County, and Andy Swap, who brought in the samples, is involved in renewable energy development and teaches a variety of other topics out at Milford High School. Thank you all for joining us. Andy, you look at the next generation of the next labor force coming out. How big of a deal is this to school kids? I mean, obviously, maybe not so much to a kid in school in Salt Lake Valley or in Ogden or down in Provo, but let's say out in Milford.
Well, I think it's huge, Chad. Our students are looking at maybe one or two places of finding employment after school. The hog farm, possibly the mine, maybe staying on a family farm and working. But for the majority of my students, they're going to go other places to get employment where they can survive. So education needs to keep up with what's happening. And I think education can be a huge foot in the door for companies that want to come into an area. If our students are trained in computers or technology, and not just bricks and mortar, sticks and nails to build with, but if they have the computer technology that goes along with those things nowadays and mechanics, we're going to provide a valuable resource, and they don't have to go hunting for it.
How many of you would prefer to get a college degree and be able to stay in Milford and live your lives in the rural part of the state?
I would.
You guys all want to move on to someplace else?
Yes.
Is that so? This whole argument to you guys is moot, huh? Seems like they've almost given up hope that they can have the lifestyle they like and still maintain the benefits of rural Utah.
Yeah, it's a consistent problem. I mean, and it's statewide. I mean, once again, I live in an area here where we have Green River that is such a good example because it has so many things to offer. I mean, you've got arches right by, you've got the Santa Fe Swell, you have all those activities, but yet the average kid going to high school, what they have to look forward to, for the most part, is working a couple of jobs in a restaurant and maybe doing some farming in the summer. That's the future unless something changes, you know, because there are no other opportunities unless you can work out and get a UDOT job or come back and get a school teacher job. Your other alternatives are very challenging for them to get motivated about, unless that's the lifestyle they're passionate about. And so we're trying to just say we'd like to have more opportunities for those kids to say, you know, I want to be an engineer, but I still want to live, in Green River and be an engineer. How do you do that? That's really what we're about.
Well, you know, so what? The kids don't want to stay. You know, you don't need to expand, but you just maintain your status quo.
Well, there is no such thing as staying the same, especially in rural Utah. And for the last 10 years, our population has stayed the same because our kids keep moving out. It's just a rite of passage. They assume that when they finish high school, they have to move out. IPP a couple years ago, we asked them, you know, do you have a hard time finding new people to fill your positions? And they actually have an employee bank of 200 people that have already tested that would like to take some of the jobs as the retirement, people start retiring. So these are people waiting to come back. That's not the issue. It's just, do they have a job to come back to? And as these natural resource industries become more technological, they require less labor, but they need to be more trained labor. And so we're looking at adding 10 jobs here, 15 jobs there. So that may not seem like a lot to the Wasatch Front, but for us it's huge.
And it impacts the Wasatch Front because If they want everybody to locate here in Salt Lake or Provo, that's going to have an impact over time. But if we can distribute that growth statewide, you have an opportunity to plan your growth.
Okay, well, 2 questions. What kind of impact? What would Salt Lake look like in 10 years if everybody continues to migrate?
I can guarantee you it would look like Chicago.
Well, you do. I mean, you end up with, it's more highways, it's more pollution. It's just more of what the things that people complain about today. I can't quantify it, but we all know the things we don't like, and it's what you're going to see more of. And so rural wants these jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
And so let me ask the next question then. If you do nothing, do you maintain the status quo over the next 10 years?
No.
How come?
It's inertia. And if you're heading downhill, you lose it.
Right.
Well, in rural Utah, small schools get money from the state for especially small schools. Now, is that robbing Peter to pay Paul? I don't think we would need that if we could get substantial development in our area and have a tax base to provide for our own schools. But if you have a school of 47 kids or 4,700 kids, they still need a basic core curriculum to go by, so you need to provide funds for that school. Can I say Beaver County's taxable value is almost $1 billion. First Wind is almost 300,000 or 300 million of that billion. They have 5 phases planned for their project. We're in phase 2 right now.
All right, you've set us up great for some summaries. We'll be back in just a minute here on the County Seat. Thanks for sticking with us through this. Way more to talk about, and we've got time for. We'll be right back in just a minute.
Who is it?
It's me, honey. My key's not working. Can you let me in?
Did you get your whooping cough booster shot?
No, I forgot. I'll get it tomorrow.
Then that's when you can come in.
What?
Whooping cough can cause permanent disability in our baby. We're not taking that chance.
I know, but I'm...
Your dinner's on the porch.
Help us stop whooping cough. Visit us online to find out where you and your family can get vaccinated.
The best part about raising children here in Vernal and the Uinta Basin is just the smaller community that makes you feel like when you go somewhere, you know everybody.
It's not too big, it's not too small. We're close to the Wasatch Front if there's anything we need out there.
The support is unbelievable. Even though you don't have a kid playing high school football, you go to Friday night football.
My job has offered me the ability to college educate all 3 of my children.
My father, he was an engineer for Chevron, retired 39 some odd years. And Jeff, my husband, it's the same way. He's always worked in the oil and gas, always had a job here.
It's a wonderful place to play because there's a lot of variety between hunting, fishing.
And the beautiful mountains, and Flaming Gorge is just a short distance away.
One of the big reasons why I live where I live is I'm able to run up to a beautiful place like this and spend some good quality time.
There's always plenty to do in Uinta County.
Kanab, base camp for your southern Utah adventures. You belong in Kanab.
Welcome back to the County Seat. We are talking about outmigration of youth. Rejoining us for this last segment, Mike McCandless, who also sits on the board of the Utah College of Applied Technology. And of course, we've got Andy Swap, who teaches out at Milford and is Mr. Energy out in the West Desert. And Jake Hardman, who is with the Southwest Utah Renewable Energy Center. Let's talk about what we're doing in education, because that's part of this mix. You got to get the infrastructure out there, but you also have to have a labor force ready. So what are we doing differently in Utah to make that happen?
Well, we're trying to be proactive about it. We're trying to see what is coming ahead so we can be prepared. So when these companies, for example, in Iron and Beaver County, there's several solar and wind companies that are looking at the resources in that area. We've already got solar and wind technician training available so that we can build the labor force so when those companies come in, there's a greater impact on the local community.
And so in UCAT's situation, UCAT's goal is to really try and be as proactive as possible rather than developing curriculum based upon what some expert academic has developed, they go to the businesses and say, explain to us the specific certifications that you need, the time frame involved, and apprenticeships, and basically develop a curriculum based upon those needs rather than a theory. And so that model is being applied literally different in every campus throughout the state of Utah, so that we can move much more towards a customized set of employee skills based on the needs of that company.
And is this a big draw for companies? I mean,
we've had several of the companies that have come to Utah in the last 3 or 4 years that have come solely because of that model, and the CEOs will tell other states that we came to Utah because Utah is heading down the right pathway when it comes to that kind of training. Are we there yet? No. But
so Andy, you previously, I mean, you've already been involved in this out in your neck of the woods as far as customizing the training that you're providing for what's developing in the area. How does that work?
Yes. Well, I think it takes a teacher that is observant, not to brag on myself, but I think you need to look at your local area, look out the window and say, what do my kids need here? And try to provide that to the best of your ability. As we get larger and larger and curriculum comes from farther away, I think we get farther away from the needs of our kids. So if we can look at the local area and concentrate on what is needed, what's going to be needed, and design our curriculum around that, we're going to be hitting the target more often than not.
Okay, now a little bit earlier in this program, we asked how many of the kids that you brought with you wanted to remain in the area. Is that because education hasn't been targeted to make a sustainable, comfortable living for them in the area?
Chad, I almost feel like I'm getting put on the spot here. I might get in trouble with my administration for saying this, but you know, we teach the 3 R's just fine. We teach the core just fine, but are we really reaching out to what they need so they can make a good living here at home? And I would say probably not. Now,
we'll back you up on this, okay?
Okay, I appreciate that.
I'll talk to the administrators if they get after you. And Mike, your reaction to that?
I think we're doing a better job all of the time, but once again, the kids are young, they're looking forward, they're hopeful. And if that's removed, if they don't see that light at the end of the tunnel, they're going to look for another light. And that's the problem we have. We need to create that opportunity so that they see something worth staying for. The quality of life is something they don't always recognize until they're older. They're looking for a reward.
All of a sudden they miss home.
Yes.
I understand that. Any thoughts, Jay?
You know, I can totally agree with that because I grew up in Salt Lake and actually went to school down in southern Utah. And until I lived that rural lifestyle, I didn't realize how great it was. And now I don't want to go back. And I think that's what he's talking about. A lot of times these kids, they'll realize what they have and how great it is, and they'll want a reason to come back.
Thank you for joining us on The County Seat. You can always find us on our website, thecountyseat.tv. Go to our Facebook page, let us know what you think about the program. And we'll look for you next week on The County Seat.